to the Startup Grind.
How many people in this room have been to a Startup Grind event before? Raise your hand. Clap if you liked it. Seriously, if you didn't like it, just say boo, because I'm going to get real hyped. If you say boo, I'm going to make this like off the chart. Okay, no, but what? One? I'm going to be off the... No, I'm just kidding. But for real, Startup Grind has been a real gift, I think, to the community. Startup Grind is a Google entrepreneur-backed platform. We have over 100 chapters all over the world. And at Massive Corporation, the reason why we're so passionate about Startup Grind is because we believe that this conversation links us to the rest of the world in the bigger entrepreneurial conversation. Startup Grind is designed to help people connect, network, so while you're here, make sure that you're meeting people, shaking hands, really getting to know people, understand what they do, because you never know where the missing link to your product or your project might be sitting or laying. So make sure that you do connect. We have food back there. If you haven't tried food, it's great. Maurice Smoking over at Catalina Cafe. Chop it up for Catalina Cafe. How many people have actually gone to Catalina Cafe in the city? Raise your hand. I go over there every single morning. They're going to start charging me rent because I think it's my office. They're going to start charging me. I know it's coming. But Maurice over there, he's an entrepreneur. He's local. He's doing really, really interesting things in the community. And he's our sponsor for the food, so we got to make sure that we give him homage across the night. This Startup Grind is a little bit special for me. I mean, well, I won't even say a little bit special. It's very, very special. This guy, Ryan Bonhardt, met him some time ago, and when I sat down with him for the very first time, I caught his spirit. I caught the energy that he had for what he wanted to do, and he gave me one simple line that just made me famous, like, I'm changing education. I said, what? You know, and it was in my heart, you know, to really, really consider changing education, or to at least rethink how we're educating our future, because that's important. And when we think about future innovators and future entrepreneurs, we're on that front line right now, because those kids are sitting in classrooms. So when you hear Ryan Bonhardt and his story tonight, what you're going to catch from him is an idea of how we can make the future so much better and so much brighter. And if you can connect with him, I'm sure he'll answer your questions and stuff at the end. But this is going to be an awesome talk. So if we can just give him a round of applause. I'm going to have Ryan Bonhardt just kind of introduce himself. Talk a little bit about who you are, where you came from, what's your deal?
Yeah, so as you said, Ryan Bonhardt, founder of Maker-Based Education, as we are now. No longer Massive Academy. And basically, I connected with Vince about a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, when a lot of this, I guess, startup accelerator interest was coming to Tallahassee, and was, you know, curious about how we were basically going to prepare the tech talent, and then it kind of blossomed into, I think, a much more awesome idea than that, you know.
Yeah. I think one of the conversations that me and Ryan had from the very beginning was about this idea about bigger work. I'm always teasing, you know, when I'm talking to people, people say, well, what does Massive do? I push people to the bigger work, you know, and it's always been that question, like, what is the biggest, like, what is the bigger work? What is the thing that's the underlying problem? And that was something that Ryan just went ahead and tackled. You said, okay, we're going to get our hands dirty and actually get in the classrooms. So now, because you've actually transitioned from Massive Academy, which was like a spin-off of who we were, kind of like dubbing with us, kind of riding along with that, getting some support. Then you became Maker-Based, which I thought was phenomenal. I'm like, you dissed us, but that's awesome. Seriously, because when a person finds their identity, that's like the deal. I'm like, what? That's huge. So it became Maker-Based. And why did you feel becoming Maker-Based was more relevant than staying Massive Academy?
I think just in the name itself, it kind of said what we were trying to do, you know, because I guess it stems from the question I had the most growing up in school is, you know, why the hell am I learning this? And so everything we do is application-based, project-based. And I see like a trend, you know, of that developing, or at least a need for that in schools. You know, like there's so many positive benefits to it. And you know, in that way, as soon as you hear our name, you kind of know what we're working towards. And plus, you know, we want to kill it in coding right now, and we want to, you know, make a lot of people fall in love with us in that lane. But it always leaves it open to move on to, you know, to even more topics afterwards.
And to help the global audience and everybody in this room kind of understand, like, what is it that you do? Because people always ask, like, okay, what is it that you do? Yeah. What is it that, how would you sum that up?
I mean, right now, what we do is we make it as easy as possible. I like to say ridiculously easy to learn a new coding language.
Okay, and what languages are you working with right now?
We have HTML and CSS. Right now we have like 16,000 students in that, and then we have JavaScript coming out.
Wait a minute, pause. How many students?
16,000.
Look, he's all like, he's like. And where are these students at? Like, they just like running, like where are they?
I mean, I'm sure we'll get to it tonight, but you heard me talk about platforms a lot, but you know, they're all over the place. Big props to Udemy.
Whoop, whoop. Give it up to Udemy. Udemy, you hear us giving you shots out there, Udemy. And so because you started a lot of your work on the Udemy platform, is that where the majority of the people actually started taking your courses? Or?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, it's really helped us test it. You know, we started off free and gave like a sample portion of our course, and then now we've, you know, completed it, made it larger, and started charging, so.
Okay, cool, 16,000. Does everybody hear that? Like, what's really, really cool is there's a lot of like startup momentum that's happening in Tallahassee, but I've always looked around kind of like a ninja because he's like behind the scenes just getting big all by itself. 16,000 users, and it's not even really hit the presses yet. And then you've actually shifted, pivoted, and you're doing something even more meaningful, which is really, really cool. And we'll talk about that a little bit. And I don't want to dig too much into your business. I'm sure we'll have some time for that. But one thing that I think that you bring to the table that's really, really cool is this startup experience. This startup experience. And I really want to catch the spirit and the vitality of how you think about the startup experience. And you gave me a little nugget yesterday. You said, Vince, don't do anything that you're not truly passionate about. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I think I mean, you always hear that. I'm sure for any of y'all that did the startup class viewing tonight, you heard it as well. But it's kind of hard to really like personalize it until you experience it. So when I started with this idea of, oh, we can, you know, teach kids coding fast, like I had the passion for it because I had taught myself it and saw how what I thought insufficient the resources out there were. But at the same time, in the back of my head, as I'm pretty sure any young entrepreneur, you're just looking at the dollar sign. So I'm doing the math, you know, I'm like, all right, if I can just, you know, hit this growth factor right here, and I can play this game and you know, game Udemy to get, you know, to be one of their like, you know, white horses that they promote, then you take, you know, 8,000 paying students and you times it by $100 a student and you're making bank, you know? So that's what it was in the back of my head, but.
He's honest, right? You're making bank.
Yeah, so, and I mean, we did that. We hit those numbers, but at the same time, like when we're working on it, it's like, man, this kind of sucks. You know, like you're getting like a bunch of students come through and you're getting people to pay, but they're not really doing anything with it. So you're like, all right, I mean, yeah, it's cool to see the numbers go up, but you're not getting like, you know, you're getting that, what you hear with like Sebastian Thrum with Udacity and stuff, you're getting that 5, 10%, maybe 15% completion rate, and you're like, well, I mean, this is all in vain, really. So that's when I kind of had to step back for like a week and really didn't work on anything and just, you know, kept asking myself, like, well, why am I not happy? You know, with this lane, it's something I care about. What's it going to be something like, you know, where is that I really care about? And that's when we started thinking about going, you know, that's when we started working going towards schools.
Going towards schools. So you mean to tell me money isn't everything?
I mean, sure. Yeah.
See, he doesn't believe that. I wanted to put him on the camera to see if I can get him to say it right. It's like,
no, you have to have money to add team members to do. I mean, money's not the end goal.
Right. Because that's one thing that you do, and that's why I kind of put you on the spot. Because one thing about Ryan that I've learned is he pursues dollars, but it's so he can scale. He's like, how can I get more talent? How can I get more people? How can I get some money to put it somewhere to actually get bigger? And I think that's really, really huge. I think that once you have to wrap your mind around that idea, the whole entrepreneurial experience kind of changes a little bit. It takes a different thing. Tell us about like what you did with 1 Million Lines and Creators Camp, because those were like phenomenal things, and you did them virtually for free.
Yeah, I want to talk on that, but before that, I guess sitting here thinking about it, we've, you know, I've had some friends recently that have kind of hit it big, and then even people outside of my inner circle that have hit it big, and you realize that they still like go after things that are passionate to them, And you kind of look back and you look at like a lot of people that hit it big, you know, they're still working on stuff. So it's like, what would you work on even if you have already made it? And I think that's a better question of what to follow versus how can I make money fast?
Mm-hmm. Can everybody put a pin in that right there? Can you say that one more time? Because I think they need to hear that one more time.
Go after, you know, what would I pursue if I already had the $1 million versus the other way around? How can I get the $1 million?
Exactly. That is huge. And so, again, I want to hit on this 1 million lines in this Creators Camp piece because I can remember going into the trenches with you on that, and I'm like, this dude is crazy. You guys out here doing free work. But at the end of the day, you know, it was like brilliant in the strategy that this guy played, along with Jason Stamm is in the house. Raise your hand, Jason Stamm. Yes, I'll put you on. You know, I'm gonna put you on blast. Jason Stamm on the Massive Corp team. These guys conspired, along with Shelby Howard, conspired to do something that was really, really powerful. They said, what if we just went out there and just wanted to give coding to all the students in schools, which took them down this path of 1 million lines in Creators Camp. Why did you do that? That was like...
I think, first off, to kind of give a shout out back at Startup Grind was the very first Startup Grind, which a lot of us didn't have the chance to attend because it was December, right? Yeah. Right during finals for a lot of the younger guys. But JT Burnett spoke at it, and the biggest takeaway from that, and I think he hit it home like constantly, was, you know, getting good faith with people, you know, working before you have the yes, you know, just free work, however you want to say it, you know, going after it. And like most of the successes that we've had, now that you have, like, if you take a second and look back at us over the last 10 months, 9 months since we started, was all that, like good faith, you know, just pursuing it like, you know, that you were already going to get it. And I think inadvertently, 1 million lines was something like that, also following the passion. It was something we were passionate about as a team, all four of us, about getting coding into the schools. And it was also kind of like that, you know, the startup mantra where you just go, you know, you ready, fire, aim. So like Jason got us into the schools. We're a day before the schools. We're like, damn, how are we going to get these students to learn? Like, I don't even know what we're going to teach them. We could put that together and, you know, try to challenge the schools. And then to go further on, besides that, we hit the teachers back like a week or 2 weeks later or whatever, and, you know, asked them what they felt about the days, yada, 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 you know, get feedback. And they were all, you know, like, yeah, our kids loved it. It was a lot of excitement, but now we don't know how to keep it into the schools. So it was kind of cruel and teasing on the students because they, you know, especially those middle schoolers, man, they ate it up. And that's when we started figuring out, like, you know, how can we solve that problem? And that's kind of like the morphosis of everything coming together at the same time, you know. That's really led us down this path that we're going down now.
Because what it seems like, it's like you have tried a few different things and you've kind of felt yourself, or you felt you went down the breadcrumbs, you kind of chased them, you started feeling things and started putting things together. What was that experience? Was it frustrating for you? I mean, it seems like that'd be like frustrating, trying to figure it out, walking in the dark.
I think it's just that. Like you said in the beginning, like just trying to get the breadcrumb, you know, and then it leads to another thing. And I mean, I guess you can call it a pivot. Pivot. And you know, that happens more times than not. You know, like the idea always starts off as something, and then it you know, metamorphoses into something a lot better. You know, in the beginning, it's probably a terrible idea or sounds weird to a lot of people, but then it transpires into something good.
It becomes something good. And the thing about it is, because you're bringing up a word pivot. How many people in this room know what the word pivot means? Raise your hand. I think we all know what that means. That means just shift, do something different. One thing that I have found about you working with you over the course of the last year and a half or so is the fact that it's like you pivot like seamlessly. Like I'll just call you one day and it's like brand new. You just pivot like quickly. How do you do that? What's the mentality of a pivot?
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I mean, but it's always to like something better. It's like, boop, Vince, here it is. It's
yeah,
better.
I mean, I think like I'm a really good procrastinator. So I've always figured it like, if you're just gonna do it, you just do it now. Like if you're gonna do it, there's no sense in waiting until tomorrow, so just go with it.
Just do it. Yeah, and the thing about it is, and again, I bring up the pivot component because a lot of times we wrestle with entrepreneurs to really help them understand not to be so sold on their idea that they can't pivot, that they can't look at the opportunity in a different kind of a way. So I think it's cool to have that testimony that, you know, you can actually make those pivots and actually grow and become something even better than what you imagine, which is really, really cool. And we talked a little bit about Udemy and what you did when you actually went into the, how many people are familiar with what Udemy is? Raise your hand. Okay, cool. It's an online learning platform. There's a lot of competition out there, a lot of people out there in the game, but you were able to capture over 16,000 users in that space. What are some of the nuggets that you can give the rest of us if we want to go into a big platform like that where there's a lot of velocity and a lot of competition?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, honestly, if I could put our success on anything so far, it's distribution channels or platforms, however you want to call it. I think that's the key in getting growth is finding those platforms or distribution channels. In other words, there's people out there that have worked, to build up, a following in their lane. So when your lane intersects with them, why try to build your own where you could, piggyback off them some? So that's what we did with Udemy, and then I think it's just smart to take time to just look at the winners that are already out there and what they've done. Udemy's great with that. Like they have a lot of teacher resources, and then what I did is I just started calling them. Like I would call their teacher head of teacher support and be like, look, I mean, I see that this is like basically a system. Like you guys want to make money, we want to make money. You want the best courses so that you can make money. I think I have one of the best courses. Now, what indicators do I have to hit to represent to you guys that I have one of the best courses? And she's like, oh, I'll get you on this list. I'll get you on this list. Do you mind allowing us to do percentage off sales and offering you in that when you want? And they're like, yeah, of course. So like doing that and, hitting like Reddit, getting kicked off Reddit however many times, getting trolled, getting in an argument with a dude, all that stuff. Shelby creating 5 accounts, us hiring kids on Fiverr to upvote our stuff, like just weird stuff like that. But I mean, that's kind of what you have to do because you have to break out of the noise. So I kind of lost track there. I got excited for a second.
Hacker.
So yeah, I mean, you just have to hit those, those critical mass points and get your identified early. I mean, there's so many out there. Like for startups, you have beta lists. Then once you launch, immediately go over to product hunt. Like, you have Reddits with very specific. I don't even know what the heck they're called because I only go on there when I want to post. Yeah. Sorry, Reddit, I love you. I mean, you have plenty of options out there, so just look for those.
It was different. And one thing that you said that was really unique to me is the fact that you actually picked up the phone and just decided to call the platform. Yeah. Just call them. Yeah. How many people in this room have actually done that? You've been on a platform, you said, I want to hack it, so I'm just going to call them. How many people have actually done that? There's only a few of you? Okay, raise your hand if you want to do it. I want to hack them. So I think that's something to take away. If there's a platform that you're on and you need to learn more about that platform and get some of the inside, intel from that platform, don't hesitate in picking up the phone. Those are people too on the other end. You're either going to build a great relationship or they're going to say, don't hack our system. In this case, you actually won. You actually won in that. Because you actually did some really, really cool stuff with Udemy. Like you got featured, pumped up.
Yeah, so, and I'll give another shout out. Like there's AppSumo, someone I follow. And they have the Failure Olympics, I think is what it's called. But go check that site out because, I mean, I'm naturally very introvert, And so I look for ways to kind of get outside of my comfort zone. That's a good source if you're looking, I think it's called Failure Olympics, yeah. AppSumo Failure Olympics.
Failure Olympics?
Yeah.
You used the word.
AppSumo Failure Olympics.
How many people in this room are scared of the word failure? Raise your hand. You're scared of the word failure? A few of you? This guy over here, Demetrius Rice, raise your hand. Look at this guy with the bow tie. You see him? Camera. Boom. That's that guy, Demetrius. He actually wrote a compelling blog post on the art of failure, which I thought was profound. And it's something that we preach all the time in Massive Corp. Not being afraid to fail or being afraid of that word. Because in today's time where making is really like the key to your success, making and breaking things and continuing to, innovate and create is so important. So it's really, really cool that you even, said that word because some people won't even say it.
Yeah, I think it's cool to bring, now that you have Demetrius brought up, also is on the good faith stuff. Demetrius, you just started at James Madison Preparatory High School The dude, we went over there, Mike and I visited it last week. We did some filming over there. But first off, I'm really excited about the move towards like micro schools in our nation, because it's the culture that Demetrius has created at his school is unbelievable. But to get back on point is when we did 1 Million Lines, you know, he got to see us with the coverage on that, and then he reached out to us as well because, yeah, Dave Hodges killing it. He reached out to us as well, and because he was trying, you know, he's like on the run, you know, he's like got a month till school starts. He's like, I want to bring coding into my curriculum. I got to find somebody. So he reached out to us, and he was just willing to run with it as well. So, I mean, that was another big thing for us on you know, the good faith, doing the work before, you know, getting paid, anything like that. You know, we didn't even have that in mind. And then for him as well, he operates like a startup as a school, man. And the culture he's created over there and giving responsibility to his students and stuff. Me and Mike were talking about on the way home last week. Like, it was unbelievable, like, wow, how receptive the students were and how helpful they were to each other and how well the machine was, like, you know, the machine of school was running over there.
Wow, that's powerful. And I'm going to kind of break protocol, break rules a little bit. Demetrius, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to go ahead and ask you a question, you in the audience. So it's in your school that his education or his way of teaching, how he's actually, the curriculum, you've actually put that in your school. What is your perspective of that? How does it, I mean, how does it feel to you?
The bottom line is that I just wanted the students to think, and I wanted them to have the room to create. And so when I sat down with Ryan and looked at what he was presenting, first of all, I realized that he wasn't just a slick salesman coming in and saying, hey, you know, buy this. He's an educator, but he also understands what it's like to learn. So I said, what we have here is a process where the students will be going through this process, learning something, but they can also create, they can fail, and they can try again. They can fail, and they can try again, and then they can help each other. You know, that was the bottom line. You know, and so Ryan came in like with good faith, didn't ask for a penny, you know, to begin with, which was a blessing to me. But we sat back when they came out last week and they filmed. We got to see this whole thing kind of running itself now. Wow. You know.
Wow, that's cool. Magic. That's, cool. That's magic right there. That's powerful. Can we go ahead and clap that up? For real. You know, that's getting busy. I don't care. That's getting busy right there. You actually went out there and actually did it. And that's really, really awesome, man. And I think that's a huge testament to what happens when you put the entrepreneurial fire and the spirit of entrepreneurism even to work in education. And I'm going to actually have you on Startup Grind, so you get ready, you're going to get that invitation, because I want an educator up here, Startup Grind style. Who wants to see that? Clap it up. I want to hear how he's changing up the school system. That's what's up. That's what's up. Because now here we sit on Startup Grind, again, over 100 chapters all over the world. This message is going out there. If you had any message to give a startup, somebody that's thinking about, they're going through the videos, they're on Startup Grind, trying to be inspired, and now they're looking at you. If you could inspire them with anything, what would it be? Like one tidbit? One tidbit. I mean, I think it's the biggest thing to me is you can't hear it enough or tell someone enough is, you know, solve a problem that you're passionate about, because, I mean, like, it's really relevant now because they have the, you know, a lot of different, like, online learning startup classes going on, because you hear it all the time, but it's true. Like, you will have times where you're down, like you don't want to do this anymore because you don't see an end to it. You know what I'm saying? So like if you're not passionate about what you're working on, then you're like, all right, I'm done. I'm good. You know, like, no, be passionate about what you're working on. I really think that's the most powerful thing. Like, is to be passionate about what you're working on. And that is huge. Yeah, solve a problem that is, you know, personal to you. Personal to you. That is so huge. So now we've talked about, and I'm going to push you a little bit harder, we've talked about where you've come from. We talked about the shift and the pivot from Massive Academy to now Maker Base, which is huge. We've talked about how you've actually integrated what you're doing into the school system in the form of curriculum, which is huge. I can see that going for many, many years to come. So now we're going to start getting a little futuristic on you. Okay. Because you're a visionary. That I've learned as well. Like when I'm sitting down with you, you're always looking at, I mean, he's got whiteboards with like the future on it, which is awesome. So I'm going to dig into you just a little bit. I don't want you to give away all your secret sauce, But he's laughing because like there's some secret sauce. But the question is, what's next? How do you see yourself evolving and growing from this point?
I think you know, we've been approaching approached different accelerators and investors. So I keep getting the question like, how are we different? Because CodeHS is out there, you know. And I think where we are really, or I know actually, where we're really going at it is project-based learning, and the fact that we want our students to come away with each course having what they've created, you know, outside of the projects that they created following us along in the video, but that's, you know, unique to them. Like we have About Me pages in the first 4 weeks at his school, that all these students now have their About Me that they created, not the About Me like the website, but, you know, their own portfolio page that's their own website, you know, because I think it's, you know, you talk a lot about personal brand as well. Like when our students leave, and imagine them going through our school with a 4-year curriculum, and then they come out at the end and they have projects to show the school that they've applied to, or maybe if they just want to go straight into the job, then I think that's very important.
Wow.
Because we're all about, to survive and to succeed in this economy these days, you have to create. You know, it's no longer just information.
Wow. That is so in other words, if my child was going through a school that has your curriculum built into it, they're going to come out in 4 years with a portfolio? Is that what you're saying?
That's what we're working towards.
Wow, that's huge. Can we chop that up? I mean, if I could come out with a portfolio already built, like this is what I've done, I think that's phenomenal. I think that's phenomenal. That's so huge. And so that's on the horizon. Right now, what I want to do, how many think that what he's been giving to us so far is pretty hot? I think this is hot information right here. I think it's the type of information that you need to have like when you're on your entrepreneurial journey. But I know you guys got questions, so I'm going to open up the floor so you can chop away at them and ask those questions. If you have a question, just raise your hand. We're just going to go at it. Boom, we got one right out the gate.
So how much time on a ratio do you invest in creating a course, as in how long is the course? So if you have an 80-hour course, what is it? Time invested.
So we'll go with our HTML course. Okay, we started and we had this, I'll just be honest, we had this really naive like picture that we were going to create like a course a month, you know, and just pop it out and it was going to be golden. And we would have 10 courses by now and be making trillions. But no, we started it wasn't that bad. We started in January, and we had the first meetup kind of get interest, you know, because we want to give back to Tallahassee as much as possible, because that's really where the route started at in terms of where we were pursuing. And we did Kevin helped me with that in the pizza party shirt. We did 2 test runs on that for like I want to say like 6 weeks. Students came twice a week for 2 hours a week, and so we had to make that course for like a month, and then we completely revamped that for a month, and then we launched in March with our first trial course. I think it was March, our first trial course, and then we doubled the size of that as we started getting good feedback, because if we didn't get good feedback, we were going to completely revamp it, and we doubled the size of it, so then that took another 6 weeks. So I think all in all for that course, I worked probably 14 weeks on it, 16 weeks, I think is what that adds up to. So, I mean, to be honest with you, it was the very first course we did, so I'm sure we can cut that down. But yeah, I mean, they're not fast by any means. And it's just the stuff you don't even think of. Like, if you say one word wrong, then it's like, or not one word, I'm pretty lenient on that. But, you know, if you just get one little thing wrong, or you're like, oh, I said, you know, HTML is structure, not content, or something like that, and you just did like a 10-minute video, that's another reason to keep your video short other than ADD, so you can go back and, you know, constantly edit them. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that go into that you get so irritated by doing it. But yeah, so it takes longer than you would expect.
That's really
the
cool.
Short answer.
That's a great question. Other questions? Go ahead, hit us up, Gio.
So you were teaching in middle schools and things like that. What do you think is the greatest challenge to get coding education in K through 12? Yeah,
teacher workload. I think, you know, all the teachers I've talked to, like, there's just, they're overworked, they're underpaid, underappreciated, you know, and that's why we really hit our slogan, is what we're trying to push hard. We love teachers, and we're going to be as flexible as possible. I'll put it on everything, And we're going to be as flexible as possible to try to, professionally develop them in their time, work around their schedule, and plus, make it as flexible to go into their classroom as well. Because I think that's where people are erring, is trying to make them fit in your box instead of you fit in their box.
Right. That's worth clapping up. That's worth clapping up. I think that was a very profound question, and I'm glad you clapped that up so we can put a pin in that for real. Seriously, yeah, I'm like, what? Nobody asked for that. We didn't ask for that one. But the fact of the matter is, and I think that, and we kind of missed that like in the conversation, is the fact that one thing that you do fundamentally different is that you're not trying to like replace school. You're actually just like making school like a lot better, a lot cooler. That is so cool to me. What made you do that?
Yeah, what were we just that was with you. We were just talking about that. He was on Bloomberg. We have a lot of talks about, it's pretty apparent over the last year or two that really like brick and mortar schools aren't going anywhere. They're going to change and, adapt, but they're not going anywhere. You're still going to have that central school component in one way, shape, or another. But at the same time, we have this new technology, and technology is meant to add value, not take it away. Oh, wow. So how can we, there's positives to both. There's positives to brick and mortar. There's positive to technology, just to name a few, self-paced learning, flipping the classroom on its head. Stuff, allows for the brick and mortar aspect with the teachers to then, have more one-on-one time with the students to help each other. All that flexibility, it's no longer one size fits all where we all have to listen to a lecture at the same speed. We can pause it. We can even do 1.5 speed or 2 speed, if the teacher's going slow. And I think that's important, is trying to find, where's the best of both worlds and how do they mix together for the best.
That is awesome right there. That right there is revolutionary thinking right there. Like, brick and mortar ain't going nowhere. I'm like, that's cool. That's what's up. Good stuff. More questions. I'm sure there's more questions. Hands popping up.
Right now, you're essentially a Tallahassee company. What is the pathway to this going to other cities, other school districts?
Yeah, that's what we've been doing. Yeah, we have teachers signed up right now. So to give you an update, we decided about, I guess, a month ago now, maybe 6 weeks ago now, to start pursuing teachers. So, it takes some couple weeks to prepare, how you're going to hit them. Shelby's killing it on that. And, getting the website up, all that fun stuff. And so we started hitting teachers probably 2 weeks ago. And I think we have like 40-something, 50-something teachers signed up. And 50 interested, 20 that have really committed. And they're everywhere from San Francisco. We had one today sign up from New York. We even have interest, in Germany. We have one in Germany that signed up.
Put you on the plane, homie. Send you out of here. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
On the note about Germany and gathering international growth, England responsibly asks their students before they graduate to take a computer science course. Our classes, if I did research lately, it's maybe 1 in 20 schools that recognizes computer science in their curriculum at all. So there's all kinds of growth potential for our schools to wake up and see curriculum.
Yeah, and I think we're hitting a really good time in the market. It's always a plus when you are approaching schools and they're like, think like you're the heaven sent instead of the other way around. We've been trying to figure out for a year how to get this into our coding. We've been talking with Teach for America a lot to offer it to all their teachers across the nation. And they're like, we've been trying to get coding curriculum into our core, because Teach for America is all about professional development. A lot of their teachers go on afterwards. So, they've been trying to get it into their I guess, benefits to their corp members. And, you constantly hear that. Like when we went to New Orleans a couple weeks ago, we hit a bunch of charter schools in New Orleans, and you constantly hear that, so that's a good thing.
That is good stuff. That's good stuff. More questions? Do we have more questions? There we go, got one.
I heard you saying a lot about weed. So obviously you have a team.
I like to
dream. Because I'm just dreaming.
And so I was wondering if, what's the story as far as your team and how they develop?
Yeah, so this is where we'll give props to Massive here, you know, because technically, yeah, it's me. I mean, you know, as the full-time member, but I never wanted to let people know that. But you just let it out, so I'll forgive you for that. No, I'm just kidding. But we have, you know, Jason's always helping me with strategy, connections. You know, we would have never started with maker-based education if we hadn't got into the schools with 1 million lines. We wouldn't have gotten in the schools if it wasn't for Jason's prior good faith work and his passion for education locally. Vince came up with the idea, like the branding for 1 million lines, and he's always, you know, asking me what I'm working towards, and Shelby's, you know, killing it on the marketing side. So I may be the one full-time, and now we got Ryan coming on doing marketing as well. So I may be the one doing it full-time, but there's, you know, a lot of other people that are working on it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May I do a follow-up?
Yeah, go.
So how do you handle it? Like how was that whole experience?
Asana and Slack. Yeah, I mean, I'm all about goals. So like we have weekly meetings where we sit down and you know, we give out our, you know, we look at what our goals were for the last week. You know, so right now we're trying to get 10 teacher committals a week. You know, so we meet on Sunday and we see how many we got. And then we all right, you know, what a great book that we've really enjoyed is Traction. It just came out, a great startup book. And I mean, it's just like you got to keep moving fast. You got to keep testing different channels. And so you have goals for each team member that week. And, you know, I might not see Shelby for 3 days, but I can, you know, through Asana and Slack, I can track to see what she's doing. And, you know, we're constantly communicating, so.
That's good stuff. And as it pertains to like the team thing, I can attest to the fact that like being on his team, because me and him fight a lot because I'm designing innovation. So I'm always like, go bigger. What you doing next? You know, I'm always pushing, but he's so focused and so driven that he's able to manage even me in a way where I'm like, this dude has chops. And you just learn to kind of get out of his way and let the visionary do the work. And that's what he does, and he's always just proving and moving forward. So I think just the openness of our team and the vulnerability of our team to say, you know what, I suck, you rock, you know, works.
I'm finding more and more how important it is to have a relationship with the person outside of work that you're working with, because, you know, I've been in other ventures where we failed because we argued all the time, you know, we never got to a point, but I mean, you're going to have to be really honest with who you're working with because you're going to disagree. And if you're just both pushovers, then you're not going to get anywhere. You know, it's going to be, you're not going to have like identity about you, you know. So like, it's good to have the relationship already with the person so you can be honest with them. I mean, sometimes you're going to get mad at each other and you're probably going to storm out of a meeting, but you know, you're going to come back the next day or the day after and talk through it and be straight about it and get your words out.
So for this venture, do you think being in Tallahassee was an advantage or a disadvantage?
I think there's plus and minuses. I think one of the things I'm still trying to find how to leverage in Tallahassee is finding like-minded individuals and you know, how to bring team members on that are passionate about this, where we may not have as many in a very concentric area like maybe New York or Silicon Valley or in Austin. But at the same time, there's positives in the fact that we've been able to get, be more of a, I wouldn't say a big fish in a small pond, but we've got more attention than we have. And you have a lot of people that really care about startups succeeding in Tallahassee. So like Jason and Vince, like giving me a lot of support in what you wouldn't really find in another city, like maybe when you have, you know, people advising you, they don't have as much time or as passionate about your project. And that goes on beyond them to other parts as well. And it's cheap to live here, so it's easier to get going.
It's all good. Good questions. We have more questions. I think there we go.
Is it only coding, or have you thought of adding some more things to that?
Yeah, for now it is. I think that's something to consider, but you know, I want to really focus on killing it in this lane, and then we can always expand. It's, you know, take the principles that match over and expand to other areas. Because I think like at the heart of it all is what we're trying to do is teach relevant skills to today's marketplace, because you got to think like when someone especially is going into school, okay, say they're a 9th grader, they're not graduating they're not going to be in college and they're not going to be in the workforce for another 4 years minimal. So if they're already behind the times and relevancy of what they're learning, then they're 4 years plus what they're behind the times. Does that make sense? So the main heart of what we're doing is always trying to focus on what's the most relevant like right now. So, you know, obviously like whether it's like, you know, teaching kids how to get like mentorships and free work and build up your own brand or whatever it is later on down the road that we can focus on. Yeah.
Good stuff.
What did your funding, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
What did your funding look like at different milestones? Where did it come from? How did you sustain yourself until you were able to make your first sales?
I mean, without going into specifics, Massive Corp helped us on that and helped me, you know, eat.
Gotta keep them alive.
So, and I think Jason made a good point once when we were talking about it. Like, the beautiful thing with that is that, yes, I may have been able to do it on my own, but it would have taken a lot longer. So it just depends on, I guess, the best, if I kind of hint at what you're saying, is the best way to look at that is, you know, what your present situation is.
I just wanted to point out with the other question about your blog. Your blog has different, like the little course on booking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we send out what we think are time-relevant tips every week, and we've created a blog because I also, when I was stepped back doing the exploration of what are some things that I kind of enjoyed doing that maybe, you know, weren't specific with what we were doing, but also added value to our students. So we have like a monthly theme, and each week we come up with a different blog post on that. So these actually last month and this month is HTML and CSS tricks, but we also have like personal branding month. We have entrepreneurship month we're going to do in partnership with November. And so that gives our students some relevant outside the course topics as well.
What's the name of that?
Maker-based blog.
This would be a good time to go ahead and plug some of your URLs. Like, where can they actually find more information about you or get involved with your movement?
Yeah, and we're kind of revamping the courses a little bit, HTML just a little bit, and you know, the JavaScript one's coming out as well. So if you go to Maker-based, you can get makerbased.com. You can get early access to those, or sign up to get early access to those, and then from there we have makerbasededucation.com, which is the teacher-facing side. But you can access that on the main site as well, and then our Makerbase.
Cool. Everybody grab that. Go ahead.
You've got teachers now that are interested and are spread out, you know, all over the country, all over the world. And one thing that you mentioned was project-based. So they learn this skill, coding, but then, you know, they have this project, like an About Me page.
Right.
Will there be an opportunity for these teachers, you know, as they develop how to communicate with each other, like, hey, you did this in this class?
Yeah, that's what I want. I think we're gonna experiment with Slack on that. Like, we want a thriving teacher community. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be like make me so happy if, you know, 3 months from now we have 50 teachers on there all shouting out, you know, like, oh, we just did this, I have this great idea for a project, we tried it out, the kids loved it. Like, that's what I want, you know, like, I want to put basically the foundation, or to use the word that I love, platform there, so that you know, all the curriculum's there, and then the teachers can compound on top of that, like whatever projects they want, or, you know, whatever, if they want the course to go slower or faster, stuff like that.
Rockstar. That's good stuff.
How have you been able to protect your IP?
I haven't even had time to concentrate on that, to be honest with you. Like, that's a good question. I just try to move fast.
Just move quick.
Like, because, I mean, you know, like, I just don't have time to really search, like, you know, what other courses are doing, I guess. That's what you're asking, right? Like, the course content and stuff like that. Yeah, like, I haven't had time to search for that. But, I mean, as long as we're growing, then I'm happy. You know?
Awesome. I actually have a comment on that, if you don't mind. It's actually very difficult to copyright curriculum for things like languages.
Yeah.
A lot of where the IP comes in is the delivery style. So, and a lot of students will say this: it's the teacher, not the content, that really draws them in. And so the having an ethos in that delivery style can really protect your intellectual property, like the personality of the brain.
Yeah, we're actually seeing that a lot. Even Ryan took some Treehouse, right? Courses, and his #1 complaint was that there was too many teachers. So like you didn't really get comfortable with one person's learning style. And then on top of that, like to add to what he said, I think that's very true because you know, like they say, like I like to see what everyone's doing. So I take a lot of courses and just grab short little bits to see what other people are doing. And I've seen a handful of them where they're just curating Code Academy and curating Code School. They're free options and just sending you down those paths and then bringing you back. And they're not getting in any trouble. They're making a lot of money doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. Being creative. Good stuff. Any other questions? This is good stuff. How many people enjoyed this talk right here? Yeah, this is a good talk. This is a good talk. There's another thing that you do, and I kind of want to end it on this, but you're a reader, bro. You read a lot of books. If you had to recommend 2 to 3 books for the people in this room to read, to really get their mind wrapped around the type of thinking that you do, because you're a different type of thinker, yeah, which is really, really cool. What are some of those books that you would recommend? Especially, I'm going to go, well, one, Growth Hacker Marketing by Ryan Holiday. He's just came out with his paperback book, and if you're a student, you get it for free, which is an awesome book. 2, another one that just came out that I'm really enjoying right now is, and I'll go relevant to right now, is Smart Cuts. I can't even remember the author's name, but he's great. He talks about basically, you know, gaming the system, finding smart cuts. You know, why do some people succeed faster than others? Stuff like that. He gives examples, everything from Ruby on Rails and how it became a thriving platform to SpaceX. Talks about why people, you know, our presidents are so much younger than the average congressman. All that stuff. So we have that, and let's go with, for right now, I'll go with a philosophy one. I like Seneca letters, I think it's Letters to a Stoic or Letters of a Stoic, and I like that just because every once in a while, and then Traction, I said that earlier, every once in a while when you are having a rough patch or something like that, or celebrating too much, it's good to just read like one of his letters because you're like brought down to like, like you're really not that cool. You're really not that cool. Good stuff. Growth Hacker Marketing, and the premise behind that is, you know, no longer is marketing, sales, product development, design separate departments, and they should all be, you know, in sync, and everything should be measured that you're doing, which I think has helped us a lot to see like where our true wins are. Heck yeah, I think so. This is making some good stuff, man. Do you have any closing remarks? Anything that you want to leave? Any like pixie dust on them, like like go big or go home. I mean, you can say one quote like go big or go home. I mean, just a quote. Don't play soccer against Micah. There you go. There you go. Chop it up. Look, Micah's like, ha ha, that's right. Don't come against me. Good stuff. This has been a phenomenal talk, man. Out of all the talks that I've done, and I think that when we had our conversation yesterday, I got inspired and excited because you said, Vince, we need to get Startup Grind back to the heart of what it's really all about, and that's that startup experience, and I feel like we were able to do that tonight. Does everybody feel like we were able to get back down to the nitty-gritty of what it's like to like get something started? Raise your hand. She's raised it up. I think we did. We did a good job with that. So I appreciate you, taking the time to ground me and say, let's get back down to the nitty-gritties, because I can guarantee you when I get you up here, you startup champions, we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty. So again, thank you for coming to Startup Grind. This has been another event that I think has been amazing, remarkable. So thank you for everybody for coming out. Give yourself a round of applause. Good job, bro. Good job. That was good stuff. Good.